Yo, what's good, Desi Hip Hop fam? You are tuned in to the Unfiltered Podcast live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm your host, DJ Raf, and today we have a very special episode lined up for you guys. This is a special episode, a one-on-one episode that we shot for a documentary series we were doing 2 years ago. So it was called On the Road with DJ Raf. I was the host as well for this one, but it's a very relevant one-on-one interview with this guy right here, Lazarus, who's playing behind me. And I really wanted to bring that back today because it's got a lot of relevant information about success, about struggles, about the grind, the hustle, the path to success. As you know, Lazarus is a doctor and he's a rapper, and he has to balance a lot of different sides and wear a lot of different hats every single day to achieve his goals. He also has a family, so there's a lot of balancing going on. So I took that opportunity to go to Las Vegas where he works and lives, and I wanted to break down the way he does everything, and we had a very valuable one-on-one conversation, and I want you to watch that and have fun with it. Yo, listen, I know this isn't live, but keep those comments coming. I really appreciate those comments. Keep those comments coming. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Hit that share button. Tell your friends if you like this episode, let them know. And last but not least, I want to give a quick shout out to Applause. Applause is an amazing startup that churned out during quarantine. And I really support them. I really like them, and they support us as well as artists around the world. Applause is a company that helps artists and entertainers who go live on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter or LinkedIn. They help those artists monetize their live streams. So if you're going live, don't go live without Applause. Go figure it out. Go find Applause. They're called applause.artist on Instagram and Facebook. So go check it out. And hey, there's an Applause link on this video too. Click on it. All right. Enjoy this episode. I am DJ Raf. I'll see you guys next week.
With every rhyme I spit, I'm King Solomon, swear solemnly. Every time I make a mark, I'm razor sharp as Donovan. Brother, surrounded by these fake rappers, and I set fire to all of them.
You just released a music video for Man on a Mission.
Right.
It's hit 1 million already, right? And at the time of shooting this interview, it's at 1.2 million or something.
Right.
How do you feel about this?
Man, I just feel blessed, man. I feel real blessed just to be able to have a voice that's getting out there in the world, and I really, I do hip hop for the fans. I do it for the people. I do it for the hip hop community. I do it for the Desi community, and I just want to be able to make a positive impact with the words that I use in my rhymes. Things have been so steadily climbing. Last year, I did the records with D12, Royce, and then this year we dropped the one with Bohemia, and just steady building the momentum. And because my schedule now permits me to work, more on my music than I had in previous years when I was doing residency and things like that.
Let's pull back to the past,
Right.
Where did all this start? When did it all begin?
Man, everything kind of started back, I would say, around 1999, 2000, up in that time, and that's when I was just getting out of high school, and I'd always been a fan of hip hop. I used to listen to all the 90s rap, and at the time, you had a bunch of just like today, kind of like if you were to compare it, there was mainstream music, and then there was the underground hip hop, and all I heard on the radio was the mainstream. So then when I started digging and finding records, like when I listened to the Wu-Tang, I listened to Big L. I found old records before me like Rakim and Big Daddy Kane. I actually started to fall in love with the way that hip hop had initially started, and the way that it was progressing, and then it just became something I loved to listen to all through high school. And it was after I think I listened to the song Triumph by the Wu-Tang.
Okay.
That was in 97. That really was one of the turning points for me, because when I heard that song, I was like, man, I wish I could do that. That was the time when I started, when I heard Inspector Deck, and he says, You know, I bomb atomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses. Can't define how I be dropping these. I heard that and I was like, that's dope. Like I never imagined that rap could be so, you could use educated words the way they were using all these, you know, big vocabulary, but saying something with it. You know, it was like having a message behind it. So I was like, you know, that would be so cool if that's something that I was able to ever do. Now this is before I even attempted it, you know.
Right.
And so it built from there, and you know, starting after high school, I went to Wayne State University in Detroit, and you know, I just started practicing. Like I just started putting my own rhymes together. I'd go in the basement recording with my boys, and we just have this little tape deck. You know, we would just record it on a cassette tape.
Right.
And we would just like put an instrumental on in the background, and we were just excited to find instrumentals on what at that time they had Napster. I used to walk to class. I used to walk to organic chemistry. They walk into my biology class, and I always see this circle of rappers.
Okay.
And they'd always be out there rhyming and stuff like that. And then I used to think to myself, I'm like, hey man, you think I might be able to bust one of my rhymes that I had in my head, or freestyle, or start working on stuff? And so I started walking in there, and you know, I got in, and the first time I ever did it, I felt so out of place. Like I'm like, yo, I can't do this. You know, I started messing up, and I was doing this. People were laughing at me and stuff like that. You know, they were like, "Hey, get out of here, man! You can't rhyme with us," because they was like hyenas in there, man. They were just barking with these ill rhymes and just, you know, passing me around. Like, you know, I was just like, man, I can't hang with these guys. And then, but then, like one time I battled somebody, and he said something about my race and stuff like that, and I was just like, nah man, I'm not just gonna sit back and take that. So I started practicing my freestyle game, and I just worked on it, and then over time I went back and I just started to command those ciphers. You know, it was like it was that motivation that I got. I'm like, nah man, I gotta stand up for myself, I gotta do this. And when I started battling in the ciphers and actually started to win, that was a turning point for me, because then I was like, yo, I'm getting good at this.
Clever, cripple, clavicle, lever, spitter like Pavlov, the Babylon, baffle all your battle, all this man alone, I had it thrown at any moment, and alone you
criticize the using of a constitution and the institutions that we have in its excuses. Disprove this evolutionary theory that we have and bury it, tearing in through your am like a hawk.
shock you like ice compared to waters less dense. I turn the Nazi into African to best friend.
It just became more of a hobby, because I'm like, when I get out of my Gen Chem class, man, I'm going straight to that cipher. I'm gonna battle that dude again. That was fun, you know. Yeah. So then what had happened, because we were downtown Detroit, some of the radio stations, I remember 95.5, the radio stations will always be out there on campus outside, and they'll be promoting various things. So one of the dudes from the radio station, 95.5, saw me while I was doing one of my battles. And he was like, yo, we're doing this Freestyle Fridays on 95.5. Like, you should come down and battle. I had like some butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for that level of stuff, man. I know it's gonna be crazy up there, you know?
Right. How do you manage fear?
Fear, that's
because all of these things that you're talking about, it starts with fear, right? You always have that,
right.
And then you have to overcome.
You have to overcome the fear. I always have the fear, and the way I overcome my fear is I think about my father.
Okay.
I think about my father, and I think about my older brother, because my father, every time that I ever did anything in my life, and I looked at all the struggles that everybody around me was going through, I always remember the stories that my father told me about the struggles he had to go through.
Okay.
And we're talking about back in Sargodha, Pakistan, where he would tell me the struggle just to get your way to drinking some clean water, or to get your way to a bathroom. Things that we take for granted, like I mean, the things that he described to me and what he had to deal with in his life, it just made me think, wait, so you're telling me he came from this place where you're absolutely coming from worse than rock bottom, places that make Compton look like they're Candyland. He's coming from there and dealing with those things and gone through all that.
Right.
And I'm over here scared of this. So I think of that, and it just takes my fear and diminishes it, because it's like, wait, it's in my blood. Who am I kidding? My father was able to hustle his way from Sargodha, Pakistan, and land in Detroit and make a name for himself here. But who am I to complain about or have any kind of fear whatsoever? And similarly with my older brother, man, he's You know, we always got picked on growing up for being Pakistani, for being Muslim.
And how did that make you feel?
My brother fought them. He actually literally fought them, like with his fists.
Right.
You know, so I saw that growing up. I saw that. You know, I see some of these other guys, Desi guys, getting bullied, and they would actually just buckle and run away. And what my brother taught me was, no, you don't run away. You take your fist out and you bash their eyeball out. He did that. He actually punched a kid, and his eye literally came out of the socket.
Oh, snap!
Like when I saw that, that also took my fear away. Because I was like, nah. I mean, I come from a family, bloodline where you don't get scared. You do what you have to do, and you be fearless about it.
Just like a kamikaze, wanna try to get face past like Trinidad and Joppy. I don't believe in peace. I'm the opposite of Gandhi. Never sloppy to try to stop me. Make attempts to pop me, and I'ma shred your ass like I was a Rokosaki. I'm a ninja.
You know what? We gotta respect Lazarus's hustle. I saw him battle like 5 MCs for no reason. He just rolling up and he just started battling them. I like that. That's energy right there.
This really Canuck. He looked like he belonged in a Harry Potter book.
Growing up, you know, this type of bullying that you face, you know, it's interesting to me just because Detroit is like very kind of diverse city, right?
Diverse.
Like it's got the largest Arab population.
Yep.
You know, full of black
everybody.
people, white people, brown,
everybody.
Desi, just everybody, right?
You got everybody in
So
Detroit.
in a city like this, what do you think? Like, why is this happening over there? You know, why are there so many? Like, can't they just live together, or is it like 9/11 happened and then it got worse, or how do you see that?
I mean, I feel like before 9/11 wasn't always necessarily that, oh, we want to hate on them or we want to call them terrorists, but it's just that when you watch your Simpsons, when you watch your everyday Hollywood movie, and if you ever see a Desi person on there, it's never one of respect. And I noticed that growing up. See, if I ever had a role model that I respected, it was going to be a white guy or a black guy, because those are the only people that I could see myself respecting. Whenever you see Apu in Simpsons,
Right.
you don't look at him as a man of dignity or respect. You look at him as somebody you could laugh at.
Right.
Ah, look at Apu, look at Apu. And, you know, what are you doing? You know, that whole thing, that became the stereotype. So then anytime I got involved in anything, that was the first thing people thought of. They thought of Apu. You know, they thought of those kind of characters and those kind of TV shows or movies, because those are the people that were representing our race and community in the media.
Right.
So when you have that stereotype, as that every time you see a brown guy, you think of those things in the mainstream, then no matter how diverse your society is, you're always going to have that in your head. You know, you're always going to have those images. And particularly for me, if I'm battling somebody, they're going to pull that out.
Right.
Because that's the only thing they know, right?
Right.
There's no other example set. And then, you know, I dealt with a lot of racism growing up, you know, especially, you know, with kids not understanding my race, my religion, kids telling me to take the sand out my face and all sorts of things. I mean, I've seen and been through it all now, but when 9/11 happened, it just escalated everything to the whole next level.
To fly to the States, but he got more eager to higher the stakes. So we in Detroit, and there I was born in cyanide grace. Now I'm the face of a Kunta Kinte, strung up, hung up, struck me down. Puzzled, perplexed for my complexion. I'm white, black, but I'm brown. So minuscule.
I'm a perfectionist with everything I do in my life. So when I was doing my classes in school, it would hurt me to get an A- in a single class.
Okay.
It would hurt me, literally. I would feel pain from getting an A- in a single class. And, you know, I was like, I want to outperform everyone in the class. So all the nerds, the dudes with the big funky glasses on, the dudes that study 24 hours a day, don't sleep, all they do is study. I'm like, I want to outperform them in my studies.
And how did you do that? Did you just study all day, or like what was?
I put my focus on studying the right things, the right times. I figured out how to win. It wasn't because a lot of people, they study everything.
Right.
You know, I focus on what I need to study, you know, to do well.
See,
you know?
that's a key right there.
The further I walked, the more narrow the rope of my very own city became my hope. When music was gold, it touched your soul, raised my confidence.
All your life you were on a path to, you know, become a physician, and that's what inspired you. At what stage did you say that, okay, I also like hip hop now. I'm having conflicting.
It was there. I would say like going into the second or third year of university is when I started to realize that, look, I'm doing well in all my classes, so I'm en route to become a doctor, to get into medical school, and at the same time, I am doing well with my music. I was selling mixtapes on campus, literally like going on various different areas of Detroit, just slanging the CDs, going to different clubs, going to different bars, going to different areas. Everywhere I could possibly find, I had that Lazarus mixtape on me, and I took that Lazarus mixtape with me everywhere I went. And I was selling it, and I was finding people, I was going areas, and I was just walking up to people, and I'm like, hey, you wanna hear the illest, rawest hip hop you ever heard? First thing they do, they start laughing at me. They're like, oh, wait, from you? No. And I'm like, all right, my boy Maximus, shout out to Maximus, man. I'm going to make you remember this one right here. Maximus used to say, I got my boy Lazarus over here, and I bet you he'll rap for 30 seconds, and you're going to want to buy his mixtape. He put me on the line. I'm like, dog, you put me on the line like that? He used to do that to people in battles too. He's like, he'll battle you right now, and if you lose the battle, you got to buy his mixtape.
Damn.
So smart. Yeah, so he started doing that. We started going around to random strangers all over Detroit, and now we're not talking about just over at Wayne State campus. Now we're talking downtown, everywhere. Mm-hmm. We would just walk up to people and be like, okay, he's gonna rap for 30 seconds, and we guarantee you that you're gonna want to buy the mixtape after that. And that's kind of how it was, man. Mm-hmm. And I would spit my bars, and it was just they would be looking at me like they just seen a ghost or something, because they could not imagine somebody of my race, my ethnicity, rapping the way I was rapping at the time. And I saw that reaction come from people. When I saw people's eyes light up, when I was doing that, that's when I started to realize that, look, man, if I can get 30 seconds, if I can get these people to buy my mixtape, then there's a possibility that I could push this as a career. So that was the state of mind that I had at that time. But at the same time, now you have to understand, at the same time, when I was studying to be a doctor, it wasn't just, oh, hey, you have the option to go to medical school. To people, ignorant people don't realize the hard work that is required just to get into the medical school that you want to go to,
right?
Or just to get into medical school, period. And we're talking about you busting your ass and you're getting a 4.0 GPA, you're taking your MCATs and you get a high score on that. Even those people are being denied, rejected by medical schools all across the country. Mm-hmm. So we're in a situation where I'm studying with 30 other people that all they do is study. At this point in time, I'm making mixtapes, I'm rapping, and I'm studying at the same time. I'm talking to people that all they do, and the only thing they focus on is to study to become a doctor. All of them getting rejected from the medical schools. Out of all the people that were applying to medical schools that year, there was only 2 or 3 of the people that I used to study with, maybe like 30, 40 people that even got an acceptance. And when I found out that I was accepted into medical school, it was like, it would be the biggest crime that I'm committing on myself to deny this.
Right.
When there's people over here that will give anything for that opportunity, and that's all they've ever wanted in their whole life. And here I am, conflicted, that I love hip hop and I want to pursue that as a career, and at the same time I just got accepted to medical school, which those other 30 people I used to study with didn't get.
Right.
So my brain is telling me, forget hip hop, man. You got a chance to become a doctor.
Yeah,
you got a chance to become a doctor, which, my whole life, I've heard my father tell me that you become a doctor, you're the king of this earth. That's the mentality that I had, and the passions that I had to become that. It all came out, and I was like, this is it. This is my path. This is my God telling me that this is the path for me. I'm gonna become a physician. But then every day I used to get in a cipher. Every day I used to get in a mixtape, and I was like, yeah, I got what it takes to become a doctor. I did well. I started getting popular on campus. People started to approach me, and it's crazy. And all of a sudden, like, all the kids on campus be like, yo, that's that dude be rapping, man. He's dope. I heard him on the radio. So all of a sudden I had this kind of like influx of people who became interested. So what kind of a brain fart is that for me, man?
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, like, man, so do I give up becoming a physician, or do I give up becoming this entity in hip hop? So I ended up giving up hip hop.
Okay.
I gave up hip hop.
Start at the beginning. Imagine a boy at the age of 7, living and raised in an Armageddon, whose dream of an American ghetto is heaven. There was no telling, and no one believing that he get his visa to fly to the States, but he got more eager to higher the stakes. So we in Detroit, and there I was born in Sinai Grace. Now I'm the face of a Kunta Kinte, strung up, hung up, struck me down, puzzled, perplexed.
So I'm like, man, so do I give up becoming a physician, or do I give up becoming this entity in hip hop? So I ended up giving up hip hop.
Okay.
I gave up hip hop.
And when was this? Let's hear this.
I gave up hip hop when I got accepted to medical school, and there was a dude that told me to, like, yo, Gamran, you got this far doing all this hip hop that you've done, but bro, do you have any idea what you're about to get into in medical school?
Right.
Because I had decided I'm going to medical school. Do you have any idea what amount of studying you have to do in medical school? The amount of time that we're talking about, a place where the walls close in, and talking to your family for a couple minutes on the phone is on your cannot do list. Thick book, reading, learning. And that was the time when I completely gave up rap. So it was just it was a past. It was like the old girlfriend that I adored, and now she's in the past. You know, something happened. I got a call from the Discovery Channel that they found out about me from FM 98 WJOB, the biggest radio station in Detroit, and that they were shooting a documentary called The Real 8 Mile. This dude has got an interesting story. They're like, this guy's he's in medical school, and he got a record playing on the radio right now. Right. And he's a Pakistani guy. They're like, we got to go pay this guy a visit. So, you know, they came, we shot a documentary, and that got a lot of exposure, and that got me on a lot of the big hip hop websites and stuff like that.
A lyrical animal. Get up on it, because he kill him.
This is Lazarus. His real name is Cameron.
Right now, I'm a med student.
You were at the class?
Where what? This the class?
Yeah, of course.
So here I am, first year medical student, and I started working on my album, which was Chapter 1, The Prince Who Would Be King. And this was now, we're going into 2006. I put together the whole album. We had got Royce the 5'9" on there. The Prince Who Would Be King album, we dropped that in 2007. And this is in the middle of my whole studying 18 hours a day business. So I was able to put that album together, rock shows in Detroit and different areas, you know, promoting that album. And then we shot our music video from the record sales that we got, you know, off that album. We ended up shooting Let the Game Know in 2007. That got 1 million views on YouTube, and it just, that was when it was like, all right, man, you know, we just made a mark.
So how did you do all of this while going through med school at that time?
Time management, man. I just I told myself I had to do it. It was kind of like a gun was put to my head. It was like, nope, you have to do this. Yeah.
What time do you sleep?
I don't think I slept that much, man. I slept here, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, man. I really sacrificed a lot of sleep during this time.
Why?
Because I wanted to prove everybody wrong, man. Everybody told me that, you know, you cannot. I heard this word so much. I heard you cannot. And whenever somebody tells me that, something comes in, something gets fired up inside, and I say, nah, I'm gonna prove you wrong. There were times, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to paint a picture of, oh, I'm a Superman, and I had struggled so much on this journey and gone through so many moments, countless moments where I said, I'm giving this up, I'm giving up, I'm giving up, I'm giving up. I don't think that there's anybody out there who has thought of giving up as much as I have.
And what did you tell yourself to get out of it?
Same thing. Don't fear. Remember where you come from. You want to make history with what you're doing. You're not doing this for fun. You're not doing this to make money. You're doing this to make an impact. And so don't think about yourself when you go on this journey. Think about everybody else that can be inspired by what you're doing. That's what I think about. Even till today, I don't think about myself ever. This isn't about my own thing. You know, I get I get respect from fellow MCs. That means the world to me. But you know, for me to be a popular figure for the sake of being popular, oh, he's the hot thing of the day, or you know, he's the Justin Bieber of the day. That stuff doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is the fact that I'm able to do something and use my words in a way that can motivate people in a positive way to rethink what they're doing in their life. You know, that's what I want to try to do. I want to try to, because there's barriers that exist in people's thoughts, and those barriers were broken by my actions. And if my actions could break barriers, then your actions can break barriers too. Because I was always told that it's not possible for me to do A, B, C, and D. First of all, they say you can't be a respected MC and be in my race. Okay. Then they say you can't get into medical school and rap at the same time. Okay. Then they say, you know, every time they say I can do something, I always try to do it.
I see.
And I leave doing it. That's the passion that I have to do what I have to do, and I feel like that passion exists in everybody. They just hinder themselves because of what others have to say. You know?
Right.
All the great men of society, all the great people that ever did what they did in their life, if they just listened to the guidance of people around them, then would they get to where they are? If they didn't challenge the status quo, would they get to where they are? So what's wrong with challenging the status quo? As long as you believe it, as long as you know what you're capable of,
right.
What's to stop you?
Right, and you're so right. People have so many limiting beliefs. They
limit themselves, man. They limit themselves, and that's the main. If there was one message that you could take from me, you know, if there was one message you could take from me and whatever I've done in my 17 years of doing music and medicine, never limit yourself. Never let anybody tell you what your limits are or what you can be. Never put yourself in a box, because right now I'm trying to produce my image outside of that box. Because every time a record company sat down with me and told me what the box should look like and how I need to fit into that box, I always said, no, I'm going to fit outside of the box, because I don't fit in that box. That box isn't for me. It might be for those guys. It might be for those guys. But don't tell me that I'm those guys and those guys. I'm me.
Right.
So if I don't fit into the box, then I'm going to make the box fit into me.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
And that's why every time people see me and I promote myself as a Desi, as a Pakistani, as a Muslim, as a doctor, as an educated person, it's always challenging these people that want to keep the status quo, because they're like, no. That's going away from what we're trying to sell. This is going away from, this won't sell, that won't sell, this won't sell. I'm like, well, you know what I know will sell to me? Being me.
Right.
That's what's going to sell to me, because I look at it like this. If I'm sold, then I know there's other people out there that will be sold. I just feel like, you know, so number one, don't limit yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or what you can't do, and empower yourself. You know, empower who you are. Take those things that make you unique. This is my advice to any artist that's watching this. You know, empower what makes you unique. That's the key. Because what's going to happen is, you know, everybody's going to try to say, oh, you know, yeah, he sounds like, or he looks like, or he talks like, or he's this. Try to find that which makes you unique, that creates your identity. So when people think of that, they think of only you. You know, I always thought to myself that I had to conform. I have to conform in order to be, you know, in order to be accepted. You know, and this is something I got from other people, from record companies and society in general. It always used to be like, yo, Laz, I love what you're doing, the way you're spitting. Make your record like this so it can sell. Do it like this so you could sell. Add this in your video so it will sell. I got that my whole career. So I used to believe that. I used to believe that this is what I need to do. I need to make these changes in myself in order to fit the status quo, you know. Right. Still stay unique, but still I gotta conform in some way. You know, I gotta conform in some way to make myself more marketable and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, all the exact A&Rs and stuff, the educated people of hip hop, so quote unquote educated people of hip hop, telling me what I need to do or sound like or change to you know, to be accepted and stuff like that. So it was always about, yeah, you're outside of the box, but fit into the box. So if you're educated, hide it. If you're Pakistani, hide it. If you're this, hide it. Just focus on the music and conforming to the box. And if people find out about those things, that's cool. And so there came a time where I felt when I rapped and I actually did not hide those things and actually empowered those things and talked about those things is what made it exciting for me. Because I was like, oh, hey, you ain't never heard a rapper talk about this story. You ain't never heard a rapper say this or talk about these things. And that's what excited me to rap in the first place, by me expressing my story through hip hop. So I was like, well, this isn't going to work through their engine. This isn't going to work on their platform because they keep saying fit into the box. And I keep thinking outside of the box.
Right.
I had to empower myself.
You mentioned a little bit about the struggles that your dad went through, and tell me a little bit about your dad.
My father came to the U.S. in the 70s. He had about $5 in his pocket. So he came from, and having $5 in his pocket in Detroit was still a big step up from where he was coming before. You know, in the village of Sagoda that he's from. So he gets into America with $5. He's a janitor, you know, and just basically sleeping on the street, homeless.
Really? Okay.
And that was the start. And then he went on to educate himself. He got a degree, got his engineering degree.
Okay.
You know, so that ladder that he climbed was the source of the inspiration that I had. Me and my brother, you know, were born and we grew up and we saw that. We always heard these stories that motivated us because it told us that, you know, you could literally come from absolutely nothing, negative, not even ground zero, negative ground, and you could come from there and you could rise from it.
How does your dad feel about your hip hop movement? What does he think about the whole thing?
Well, I mean, obviously in the beginning, it was so foreign to, I would say, any Desi parent to think that their kid wants to do hip hop, because the thing that he always used to say is there's no example of what you're trying to do. You're jumping off of a cliff. And you need to focus on what's realistic, and you got to focus on studying your ass off so you can become somebody who's guaranteed some kind of finance in this world. We're a minority in this country, man.
Right.
Nobody want to give us a job, you know. The only way you're going to get it is if you grab it. Nothing falls in your lap. You got to work your ass off for it. And the way things are, the aspiration is to be an entertainer, a musician, a rapper, whatever you want to become. The chances of you getting to that point are very, 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 very little. Why? Because there's no example of that. Find me. So then he gave me a breakdown, a percentage. Your chances of making it as a Desi, as a brown guy, as a Pakistani in hip hop is probably 0.0001. It's a breakdown. It's a mathematical breakdown. That's the logical thing. But if that's that voice that was in my head, you know, that I feel every kid has is, yeah, but I can be the first. Yeah, but I can be the first. And that voice was always shut down. Be like, nope, this is the percentage. This is the chance for a brown person to make it in America and as a rapper. Show me one person who's doing it. Oh, there is none. But I can be the first. Yeah, this is your percentage. You're telling me something that you're trying to do that the odds of you doing is 1,000,000 to 1. Would you pursue? Would you put your 110% into that? Would you, Raph?
Yeah.
You would?
But we're that kind of people, right?
Right.
That's why we're doing these shows, so that they do it too.
So when somebody tells you that your chances are 1,000,000 to 1, yet you want to give your all, your blood, sweat, tears, your every second of your every day, sacrifice your sleep while everybody else is comfortably resting for 8 hours a night, and you're not doing that because you are so focused that I can be the person to break the 1 million to 1 ratio, then I feel like, you know.
You know what? It's probably 1 billion to 1.
It's like a boxing fight, you know? You expect two people fighting each other, you'd be like, oh, this is 100 to 1 odds, he won't win this. But after Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, the next time Buster Douglas fought, people didn't jump to the conclusion that Buster Douglas is just going to be a bum who gets knocked out. They started thinking, wait, let me rethink this.
It's interesting that you brought up Buster Douglas, because I think about that a lot myself. When Buster Douglas fought Mike Tyson, at that time, Mike Tyson was undefeated.
Yeah, unbeatable.
Nobody has defeated him ever, and everybody was saying, nah, he's not going to win.
Not as a professional, yeah.
Right, and this guy, Buster Douglas, promised his mom, the story goes that he promised his mom that I'm going to be the first one. And then the mom told everybody, you know, like, hey, yeah, my son's going to be the first one to defeat him. But then what happened is that his mom passed away few days before the fight. And so he used that pain to I gotta win.
You gotta win. It's not an option.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's inspiring, you know.
Yeah.
And that's also similar to what you said, like every time you have fear, you think about what your dad's been through, what your family's been through, and how much worse it could really be.
Right.
So why fear?
Why fear?
Why fear?
Why fear? You know, so I always think that. My father's seen 1,000,000 times worse. Why fear?
But now they respect him. Gave me a voice that's no longer neglected. Now lost but protected to change the whole world on how hip-hop's accepted.
All these whack people coming out saying, man, how come I dropped 100 songs, they ain't nobody cared about it. Be like, drop 3 songs and make them all dope. Because it's not dope, man.
Right.
It's not good. you dropping straight garbage and trying to make yourself seem like the bigger artist because you drop more records. Quality over quantity, man. And that's something that I feel like nobody can deny with me. Because be damned if you pick a whack verse out of my track record, man.
I see you getting fired up a little bit here.
Nah, you can't because I put too much love into that.
Right.
And I'm not speaking subjectively. It's objectively. Like if scientifically break down the verses that I put out, you cannot deny what's there.
What you believe sets you up for success is basically focusing on the right things.
You have to focus on the right things. You have to focus on the right platforms. You have to figure out what you can do to take things further. Because I feel like a lot of times people, they stay in the same area, the same stagnant place. So for them, it's like I'm at a certain level, and if I keep rapping the way that I'm rapping, I'm gonna stay like this. And for me, I always think about new ways, try to be inventive. What can I do to take the brand further?
Right.
So I'm always thinking about which artist do I want to work with, which collaboration do I want to do, what platform do I want to, try to target. I'm always trying to think about ways that I can increase my brand. And I think that that's what people need to focus on. It's not so much I'm a dope rapper, but now you have to figure out how do you take the music that you're making and reach more people. I want to do something bigger next time. I want to take it to the next level next time. So I drop Man on a Mission independently, but the next thing they see me drop isn't going to be like that. It's going to be something else. Like I'm always looking at ways that I can keep expanding the Laz Army brand.
Man, I know in my life personally, every time I hit a level of success, it's like I get more addicted to it. I want more and more. So when you were in med school and doing hip hop at the same time, it was like you said 18 to 20 hours or more per day. How many hours are you spending right now? Because I know you got a 12-hour shift, right?
Right, I work 12-hour shifts. Yeah, I work 12-hour shifts in the hospital, and then when I'm not working those 12-hour shifts,
So you're still putting in the 18 hours, right?
Still doing it. Yep, still doing it. Because I'm over here. It's just that now I'm in a situation where I don't have the stress. Now that I'm board certified as a physician, I don't have to worry about exams. I don't worry about tests.
Right.
So I just have to put in my work and see my patients and take care of them, make sure they're doing well. Right. And when I'm done with that, I get to freely work on my music. So I definitely have more freedom now. It's not like I have, you know, shackles and chains the way that I had when I was in residency in med school.
Start at the beginning. Imagine a boy at the age of 7 living erased in an Armageddon, whose dream of an American ghetto is heaven. There was no telling, and no one believing that he get his visa to fly to the States, but he got more eager to higher the stakes. So we in Detroit, and there I was born in Sinai Grace. Now I'm the face of a Kunta Kinte, strung of hunger.
We go at each other's heads in the studio. So, you know, there's some times where, you know, I think something needs, like, I'll ask him over and over again. I'm like, hey, what about that word? What about that word? He's like, no, that word's straight. But then he'll point something else out rhythmically or something, and he'll be like, no, you got to do this one again. So we'll have to go back in the booth and we'll have to redo that particular rhythm, even though it sounded okay to me. But he was like, no, it's not connecting. The snare is not connecting with this and all this technical stuff that I'm not really into. But he helps me just master the rhythm on the delivery in the booth. And so it's a collaborative process, man. But we both want the same thing at the end of the day. We both want perfection. So when we go back and we listen to the verses on repeat, we look for any micro flaw. We're just not talking about regular flaws. We're looking for micro flaws in the verse. So you have to, I want to be able to listen to the verse from the very start to the very end and not have one single hitch throughout the whole verse. And it has to sound like, if I put this verse on 50 times in a row, then I won't ever even think about a single flaw in it. And that's the process. We want it to be perfection. I'm not, you know, my objective in hip hop isn't to make, you know, decent verses, good verses, great verses. I want perfection. Every time I drop a verse, I want it to represent perfection as best as possible. And working with a brother like Hugo, he really helps to nail that, because he's got the ear to make every sound match up the way it needs to match with the beat and make it sound as flawless as it needs to sound. So it's a fun process. I love coming to the studio and working with this guy, because I know that we're gonna walk away from the session at the end of the day with something that is gonna be part of history.
Every single second, every single moment during the session, your attention has to be right there. You know, it has to be, you have to be able to understand what you're doing, what you're trying to say, and be able to match that to the energy of the existing track or the existing idea, you know? Because sometimes we have songs we have to mix what we have with other people's stuff already, you know? So we have to make sure that everything sounds like an entity, not like a separated collective experience, but us as a single punch.
All right. We even took the dialogue from Man on a Mission. We actually overdubbed the dialogue because it's so windy when we shot the intro sequence with Andy DeVoli. So we even took that, and Andy had his own file recorded in LA, and then I recorded my session here, and then we had to match it up to sound like we're in the same place.
They crossed us. Turned out to be some dirty, filthy rats.
But that was to be expected.
Oh man, well I mean we got a bunch of stuff coming out, but there's a record in particular that I'm gonna be focused on. I can't really drop too many details about it, but it's just gonna be something that the audience has never heard before, because they're gonna literally go into my shoes when they hear that song. So, you know, whatever I'm describing in that song is me basically taking you into my world directly, like firsthand. I can see Lazarus does this or does that. And this one, you're literally in Lazarus's shoes. So for us to paint that picture and to do it in a way that people are going to be able to feel that, we definitely had to come together and make sure that the emotions and the intensity that as we're describing, as we're painting this picture, is in such a way that people can literally see that when they're listening to it. It's all in their head.
Longer neglected, I lost but protected. To change the whole world on our hip hop's accepted.
I like it.
It's dope?
Yeah.
You want to do another run?
Music is my medicine. That's the name of the album, but that's also what I'm trying to get across as my point, is that music can be used in a therapeutic sense, and that when you listen to it, no matter what situation you're in life, the music can be a remedy to you to psychologically get you back on your feet. And that's part of what I do. I want to make sure that, you know, when people listen to the music, especially the words that I'm trying to, people that are, you know, pressed down in society, people that don't have a voice, people that feel helpless, people that feel hopeless, I want to be able to give them motivation in their life in some way and somehow. All they need to do is find the music and listen to it. And that's the purpose. I'm not in it for the material things. I'm in it to make an impact and to affect people's lives.
Let him start back. Hey, Hugo! Where's Hugo at? Start it back. Alright. Alright.
Start at the beginning. Imagine a boy at the age of 7, living and raised in an Armageddon, whose dream of an American ghetto is heaven. There was no telling, and no one believing that he get his visa to fly to the States, but he got more eager to higher the stakes. So we in Detroit, and there I was born in Sinai Grace. Now I'm the face of a Kunta Kinte, strung up, hung up, struck me down. Puzzled, perplexed by my complexion. I'm white, black, but I'm brown. So minuscule, ridiculed in school, but I had to cope. Crave for dope. The further I walked, the more narrow the rope of my very own city became my hope. When music was gold, it touched your soul, raised my confidence up to mold the bold creation of Lazarus rose. Antagonist froze at the hand of a man from which nothing's expected, who once was rejected but now they respect him. Gave me a voice that's no longer neglected, not lost but protected, to change the whole world on how hip-hop's accepted.